Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's Afro, SheepDog. Great to have you. So today we have a group of transgender women going to have lunch with Pope Francis. We're going to take a look at the video. There's been some backlash. We'll also take a look at some of the feedback from it. So a couple of podcasts that I enjoy and their reaction to it. Let's go.
Ay, no, pues no se la quiere comer hasta adentro y no.
Bello per noi trans che siamo un po' dimenticati. È un gran piacere, un aiuto morale per noi, perché noi tante volte le persone si dimenticano di noi, no?
As I watch this, this is such an interesting topic. As I watch this, I think about the the minor attracted lines that cross between these two communities. Um,
Non me lo sono aspettato, non me l'avessi aspettato mai. Sono molto contenta, grazie a Dio e a Lui per tutto quello che mi ha aiutato nella pandemia.
I could tell you that we weren't either. At least I wasn't. I sent this to my mom, and she might lose a brain cell.
Quando è stato male, lui è argentino come me.
So what are your thoughts? I thought that was interesting. COVID did a lot. COVID changed a lot. As you saw there, um, the relationship really ticked off through that time. I guess he had some free time as well. I'm not gonna be critical. I can't be critical. It's not like anything happened. They're just having lunch. I think the only thing that we can really speak to is just how does this really translate when we think about not just the Western Catholics, but also those on the east side, on the eastern side, right? Because I mean, the Africans, the Eastern Europeans, the more staunch Catholics, where does this leave them? I think these are interesting questions. Let's check out the PBD podcast. Also, Valuetainment.
Rob, can you play this clip of what
All right.
the Pope did, Catholic Church, not Protestant, what they did, which is kind of weird. Let me read the caption first before you play the clip, if you don't mind, Rob. If you just make it smaller like you did. There you go. What does it say there? Pope Francis had lunch with a bunch of men who think they're women. How do my Catholic friends feel about this on the heels of Francis's move to allow trans baptism godparents? This is Rob Starbuck. Okay, go ahead and play this clip. Okay. Jeremy, you see something like this. What do you think about this? What do you think about, somebody may say, well, they just went to the event. It's not like he is sitting there directly with them. But what do you think about the position the Pope is taking with Catholics? And he's commented on the LGBTQ stuff multiple times, and he's commented on socialism before multiple times. How do you process this?
Well, I think it's important to start by saying I'm not Catholic. I pointed out earlier that I'm radically Protestant. I appreciate about Catholicism that it is a traditional foundation within a society. And I think that tradition really matters. It's important to have heritage. It's important to have a connection to your heritage. One of the problems that we have in the world right now is a kind of radical individualism which disconnects us from community. And you can't have a culture without a community. You can't have a nation without a community. And so organizations like the Catholic Church are really important, even though I have theological disagreement with the Catholic Church. But I don't view my role in the world as much as I want to fight against coercion. That doesn't mean that I don't want there to be a common culture. It doesn't mean that I want to throw out everything that's allowed us. In fact, if anything, I think that part of our job in the world is to build a future on the best ideas of the past. That's what separates me from being a part of the left, who wants to throw out the past as unambiguously evil and create something on the basis of nothing except fantasy and dream. So I want to continually refine and hopefully build on the best ideas that have been passed down to us. And the Catholic Church is very important in that regard, to the extent that, I don't know what Pope Francis is trying to accomplish. It seems from, I think any observer could say that this is not a conservative pope. He comes from, a liberation theology, South American kind of background.
Yeah.
He's very hostile toward America and Americanism. I think that he sees the sort of unique American experiment as being antithetical to his papacy. I would not consider
Why would that be? If you know, please let me know in the comments. I'd like to know more about that.
myself a friend of the Pope. So I don't know what he's trying to accomplish. Is he trying to make a political statement? Seems like it. Is he trying to make a theological statement about, how we cannot not deny grace to people simply on the basis of them being sinners? Well, if that's what he's trying to do, I probably agree with him. If you're a saint, you don't need grace, and the entire premise of Christianity is that all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God and are redeemed through Christ alone. So, to some degree, just watching the clip, am I unsettled by the clip? Certainly. Can I say that I wildly disagree with what the Pope is trying to accomplish? I don't know what he's trying to accomplish, so it's hard to say. If he's trying to in any way mainstream the behavior itself, if he's trying in any way to say this thing that you think is bad is good and now has my blessing, well, I would think that was a really egregious and evil act. But I wouldn't, from just watching. I don't know the story. I would not.
Well, let me ask you a
say
different
that that's what
question.
I think that's an important statement there because there has to be a distinction between being accepting of everyone and endorsing and normalizing certain activities as well, right? So, again, this is what separates religions. This is what creates rigidity, or at least boundaries, or at least systems within religions. It's those principles that exist. So, if religion is there to keep clarity on the population or keep clarity on the general masses, anything that it accepts becomes normalized to the conservative side of things, right? The radicals are always going to do what they're going to do. The rebellious left are always going to do what they're going to do. But when the more conservative gatekeepers start to accept and normalize these things, that's where the difference really comes in. Again, this is not saying one is bad at the other. This is just speaking to possible impact from this. And so for Catholics around the world, I think they're trying to understand um, which of these two things are you telling us. I think that's interesting.
Let's just say you at Daily Wire are hosting a
Yep.
open event, okay? Not by invitation, but open event where I can buy tickets to attend it.
Sure.
And the attendance is 500 people for a dinner. Let's just say.
Sure.
Would you be opposed to 50 transgenders buying tickets to attend this Daily Wire dinner?
Oh, well, I may not like it, but to say would I be opposed to it, if I have to be responsible for my actions. If I have an open dinner and people buy tickets, then they have to be welcome at the event. That's the nature of.
So if that was the case, then the media comes back and says Jeremy Boring, CEO of the conservative company Daily Wire, has dinner with transgenders, right?
Sure.
How should that person be judged? Is the market going to say the conservative is trying to cave to the left? I'm trying to be as fair to the Pope as possible because
Sure, yeah.
I'm being literally the devil's advocate of the devil's advocate, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, very, very, very interesting point, right? This is where free speech comes in, and of course, the ability to express oneself without constraint. I agree with that question. Um, but again, this alludes to my previous question or my previous statement. The Pope has to be able to clarify for his um, constituents what the intention is, or at least where the Catholic Church stands with these things. Um, just like it or not, you're gonna lose your kids to this. So you have to make a decision as to what direction you want to go with it.
Uh, yeah. What do you think about that?
Well, the thing about the Pope is he has one of the loudest microphones in the world, and my microphone is not nearly so loud as the Pope's, but I have a fairly prominent microphone myself. So I suppose that if the media were to come back and say Jeremy had a dinner and here he is having dinner with trans people, I'm more than capable of clarifying how I found myself in that position and what my beliefs are.
Exactly what I just said.
One of the things that I think creates a lot of problems is when people engage in deliberate ambiguity. I don't want to hide my motives. I want to be very forthright with my motives. I think
It's interesting watching the Catholic Church and its navigation of its application of the term called love. Because as a result of hinging religion or hinging Christianity or hinging Catholicism on love, they've had to accept and conform to a lot of different things or else be called hypocritical. And this is something that many other religions, in my opinion, haven't had to deal with. You know? So we saw this slowly in the early 2000s and it sped up in the early 2010s. But now, at least over the last 5 years, what we've seen, especially since Pope Francis came into power, is we've seen that rapid integration of the woke left ideology using love as, in my opinion, a blackmail technique to hold the church hostage. So it's an interesting one. It's going to be interesting watching the way people who are Catholics or intended on being Catholics evolve, as I'm very sure that some of these things clash. You know, it's interesting. Many other religions don't have to deal with this. Many other religions, they don't hinge it on love. They hinge it on astute practice of specific guidelines that keep you in line. Christianity does that as well, but it hinges its paramount thesis or theology on love. You know, love thy neighbor as thyself, do unto others what you wanted to do unto you. For God so loved that he gave his only son. All of these things are hinged on love. So it's interesting.